Imagine you're standing at the edge of a deep, placid lake. The kind where the surface reflects everything so perfectly that it feels like you're gazing into the sky instead of the water below. Your feet are sinking softly into the moist earth, and as you look out across the water, the stillness seems almost too profound. You know this feeling, don't you? That odd sense of calm mixed with something a little mysterious. A knowing that beneath the calm, there is more than meets the eye. It's this feeling we find ourselves with when we look back at the tale of the Kagan, the great Viking ship that vanished into history, leaving behind a ghost story of seafaring mystery. You probably won't make it through the day without thinking about this. After all, an entire ship simply disappearing? It's enough to make you wonder if your keys are going to vanish tomorrow, too. But let's focus on the Vikings for now. Before we dive in, a quick moment to remind you to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs a good reason to fall asleep. Seriously, you wouldn't believe how many people are still watching 4-hour videos about the history of paperclips. And comment below with where you are, what time it is there, and if you've ever heard of a Viking ship that decided to take an impromptu vacation. It's alright if you haven't, we'll forgive you for now. Now let's relax into tonight's ride. Picture it. A misty morning in a small Scandinavian village. A cool breeze rolling across the fjord. The air is thick with the scent of wet earth, and you can hear the occasional call of seabirds echoing above the water. You are standing in a crowd, though no one seems to be talking much. A huge Viking ship, the Kagan, is about to be launched into the waters. It's sleek and sturdy, designed to sail smoothly through the chilly waves, swift enough to raid, yet steady enough to carry treasures back to the north. Something is intoxicating about the calm before the storm. In this case, it's the anticipation of a great adventure about to begin, or at least that's how it seems. If only they'd known it would be their last. The Kagan wasn't just any ordinary ship. It was a marvel of Viking engineering, a grandeur that still echoes through the ages. Just imagine, if you will, the smooth wood, the raised prow cutting through the sea like a knife through butter. These ships were made to travel the vast stretches of ocean, bringing the mighty Vikings to distant lands. And that's precisely what it did. They used these ships for exploration, raiding, and trade. Their sails were often adorned with bright colors, flashing like a giant flag across the endless blue. A floating city of sorts, a whole world contained within its wooden frame. But here's the thing, we never really knew what happened to the Kagan. Somewhere along the way, probably during one of those legendary Viking voyages to distant shores, it simply disappeared. This mystery, shrouded in the mists of time, continues to captivate us. Historians still debate whether the ship was lost in a storm, abandoned in some remote location, or perhaps even scuttled intentionally by its crew. We may never know for sure. Now, before you get too comfortable and start thinking about the Vikings being, well, too chill to disappear on us, remember that the Vikings weren't exactly your peaceful neighborhood boaters. These were seafaring warriors who seemed to find excitement in everything from conquering new lands to possibly inventing "I'm on a boat" before it was even cool. Their adventurous spirit and thirst for the unknown are what made them such legends. And that's why we can't help but get wrapped up in their stories. Even if, like the Kagan, those stories sometimes disappear into the mist. The most tantalizing aspect of this entire mystery is that the ship was never truly found. The ocean might have swallowed the Kagan, or maybe it quietly rotted away, forgotten in the sands of time. In either case, the ship's disappearance became a tale that's woven into the fabric of Viking lore, whispered about for generations, much like the stories of treasures lost and cities forgotten to history. Speaking of treasures, let's pause here to acknowledge something odd about Viking ships. They often carried not just gold, but personal items, trinkets, heirlooms, small things that didn't quite match the grand scale of their raids but were nonetheless precious. Some of these, historians speculate, may have been lost intentionally. Perhaps some of the things that were abandoned weren't about the treasure at all, but rather about a life left behind. After all, these Vikings were constantly on the move, constantly on the run from the forces of nature or other, less friendly invaders. For people who lived so intensely in the present, maybe it wasn't all that surprising that they might leave pieces of their lives behind in an attempt to start over somewhere else. And there's something particularly charming about the idea of that. The Vikings, living these larger-than-life existences, deciding to let things go, leaving small tokens of their world on ships and shores as a part of their voyage. Perhaps they didn't intend for us to discover those trinkets centuries later, but it's oddly comforting. That moment when someone drops a little piece of their world, whether it's a coin, a ring, or just a book, without knowing they're part of something greater. You've probably left something behind before, maybe without even realizing it. A lost glove, a forgotten postcard, an out-of-place memory that slips into someone else's hands. Now back to our ship. As you stand there by the edge of the fjord, with the Kagan sailing away on its final voyage, you realize that you'll never see it again. The ship becomes one of those great mysteries, its secrets locked away in the cool embrace of the sea. Perhaps you wonder if its last journey was truly as grand as the ones before, or if it slipped quietly into history, unnoticed and unimportant. But that's the nature of some stories. They float by unnoticed and then vanish, only to resurface in quiet moments like these. Quiet moments that make you think and wonder and maybe even look twice at the water. So you take one more long, slow look at the sea. The stillness has returned, and all you hear now is the soft lapping of waves against the shore. The Vikings are gone, the ship has sailed, and for now, the mystery of the Kagan remains locked in history's embrace. The world is quiet, and there's a strange comfort in that. Let's move forward and see where the Kagan may have gone. Because while we can't know for sure, we can't help but ask. Where does a ship go when it disappears forever? As we continue down this winding path of history, let's imagine something peculiar. The sea, vast and unyielding, stretching out before us, empty save for the faint, mournful cry of a gull in the distance. You walk along the shore, the sand cool beneath your feet, the air crisp with a salty tang. The quiet is nearly unbearable, almost as if the sea itself is waiting for something to happen, waiting for a ship to appear. But of course, there's nothing. Not yet. You can almost hear the subtle hum of history vibrating through the air. As much as the ocean stretches out before you, it also seems to pull you toward it. After all, it's been centuries since the Kagan disappeared into that same vastness. But if you look closely enough at the water, you may feel its presence, like a faint whisper on the edge of your hearing. The Kagan, that magnificent Viking ship, is just one of many ships lost to the tides of time. Yet, unlike the others, this ship's story is shrouded in mystery. Historians have spent countless hours theorizing about what happened to the ship, but for every theory they produce, another one pops up to contradict it. Did a storm destroy it? Did it sink in a battle? Was it abandoned? The debate stretches on, like a long-forgotten yarn that refuses to be unwound. Some even proposed that the Kagan might not have disappeared at all. Perhaps it was secretly repurposed by the Vikings as a new form of floating fortress, or maybe it was sold to traders in distant lands, never to return to the shores of Scandinavia. There is something curiously fascinating about the way historians grapple with the disappearance of this ship, as if it's somehow too perfect a mystery to solve. We all love a good unsolved riddle, don't we? It's like that old saying, it's not the destination, but the journey that counts. Except in this case, the destination is gone, and we're left to wander around, asking everyone we meet, have you seen a Viking ship lately? Spoiler alert, no one has. The enduring allure of unresolved stories, such as the Kagan ship's disappearance, keeps us engaged as we continually seek more clues and theories. As you continue to walk along the edge of this vast stretch of water, the story of the Kagan begins to feel almost too distant, like an echo of something long forgotten. Maybe the ship never even existed. It may be a symbol of Viking ambition, a metaphor for the impossibility of holding on to anything in this unpredictable world. A little dramatic, but hey, it's what history does. It turns the everyday into legend and turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. But then, suddenly, you remember something that most people don't think about when imagining Vikings. Their relationship with the sea wasn't just about raiding or trading, it was a way of life. Moreover, it was a spiritual connection. For the Vikings, the ocean was alive. It wasn't just some vast body of water they needed to navigate. It was a mysterious force that both gave and took life. This profound spiritual connection with the sea makes us feel deeply connected to the Vikings, allowing us to understand their perspective and the significance of their maritime journeys. Think about that for a moment. If you were a Viking setting out on one of those long voyages, you wouldn't just be sailing. You'd be participating in something far greater, something mystical. And no one knows what happened to those souls who left on the Kagan. But they certainly didn't sail into the unknown without carrying with them the weight of that belief. The ocean, in their eyes, wasn't just a place. It was the last frontier of fate. But it's not just the Vikings' beliefs that make this story so strange. Let's pause for a second to ponder something that most people don't associate with these mighty warriors. You've probably heard of their sharp swords, their long ships, and their bold raids. But did you know that some Vikings were known to be, well, let's say rather friendly? That's right. The Viking reputation for being savages is slightly overblown. Some of them took part in the most beautiful social traditions, such as blot, a pagan ritual that involved offering thanks to the gods. And no, they didn't throw axes at their food. They'd feast, drink, and celebrate life, recognizing that it was fleeting. Perhaps the Kagan was part of that same spirit, an attempt to conquer the sea, but also to embrace its mysteries, to take part in something bigger than themselves. Now, while historians are still debating whether the Kagi was destroyed by weather, enemies, or some unforeseen accident, one thing is for sure: the ship left an indelible mark, and that's the beauty of these tales. They can disappear for centuries and still manage to find their way back into our imaginations. Much like the ocean itself, the story of the Kagan is never truly gone. The enduring presence of the Kagan story, despite its disappearance, inspires us and makes us appreciate the beauty of its legacy. Still, it's frustrating to think about all those hours spent searching for answers that may never come. And yet, isn't there a bit of comfort in that? Perhaps the Kagan is meant to be a mystery, something left untouched by the hands of time, forever out of reach. Maybe some stories aren't meant to have endings, or perhaps they're meant to leave us wondering about the next one. Because, let's be honest, if we knew everything, where would the fun be? What would we do with all that knowledge? A gentle breeze picks up, ruffling your hair as you stand there by the shore. The water still looks as peaceful as ever, but now you feel a little differently about it. There's a sense of respect for this vast, mysterious body of water. And maybe you're beginning to understand why the Vikings were so drawn to it. It wasn't just about conquering. It was about facing the unknown, about living with the uncertainty of what lies ahead. And so, as you watch the water, the Kagan becomes something less tangible. It's a story without an ending, a ship that might never be found. But isn't that what makes it special? The journey may be the most important thing after all. Now take a deep breath. Let the soft rhythm of the water and the memory of that lost ship wash over you. Let's leave the mystery for now and turn our gaze back to the world around us, to the things that are here, like the ancient lands of the Vikings themselves, waiting to whisper their secrets into the quiet night. The sea is still, its surface as smooth as glass, and you find yourself drifting deeper into its rhythm. The gentle hum of the waves seems to pull you along, like the invisible hand of history, guiding you to forgotten shores, lost kingdoms, and untold secrets. Your feet move through the sand almost as if they belong to someone else, someone from a time long past, and the air around you begins to smell faintly of pine and salt, a reminder that you are not entirely in the present. As you walk, you can't help but feel that there is something eerie about this place. It's quiet, yes, but there's an undercurrent of something else. It's the kind of quiet that speaks to you, a stillness that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. This is the kind of place where Viking ships like the Kagan might have set sail. The type of place where they would leave their mark, only to have it fade away, swallowed by time and the sea. Let's delve deeper into the multifaceted world of the Vikings. Their legacy is a tapestry of contradictions. Yes, they were fierce warriors, their raids striking fear across Europe. But they were also something more. They were explorers, traders, and settlers. They didn't just conquer, they discovered. Unlike modern adventurers with Google Maps, these men and women ventured into the unknown, often with no guarantee of return. Yet, in their travels, they left behind a lasting legacy, one of settlement, culture, and technology. We often overlook the fact that Vikings didn't just plunder, they built. But enough about their sword-wielding ways. Let's talk about their ships, because truly they were the key to everything. Without their ships, the Vikings would have never spread so far. These ships were not only weapons of war, but also marvels of engineering. Just imagine thin, light, yet incredibly strong. The longship could sail on both the open ocean and the shallow waters of rivers, making it the perfect vessel for a people who needed to be both mobile and ready for anything. So, where does this leave us, standing on the edge of the water, pondering the fate of the Kagan? Here's a thought. Perhaps it didn't go anywhere at all. It may have simply ceased to be of importance. Consider this. The Vikings were not sentimental people. They would discard ships that no longer served their purpose. The Kagan might have been left behind, abandoned on some forgotten shore, slowly being reclaimed by land and sea, until one day it was no longer remembered by anyone at all. Yet, this thought doesn't fully satisfy the imagination. The Kagan deserves something more, something grand to match the mystique surrounding it. Perhaps it wasn't abandoned. Maybe it was hidden away, its final resting place a secret, deliberately obscured by the passage of time. Historians have dedicated lifetimes to scouring old maps, records, and any other available materials, searching for traces of the Kagan. Despite their best efforts, the ship remains elusive, much like the Vikings themselves, larger than life and impossible to pin down. It's easy to get lost in the details of it all, the maps, the old Norse sagas, the theories about what might have happened. But there's a part of this story that's simply about feeling. You're standing here on this shore, looking out at the same waters the Vikings would have looked at, and there's something oddly comforting about that. The history, the ships, the lost ones. They all fade into this moment, this quiet evening, where the world feels a little less busy. It's funny, how much effort do we put into figuring out the past? The Vikings didn't leave us a neatly organized list of their adventures. They didn't have Instagram stories to record their every move. No, they left us something far more tantalizing, mystery. For centuries, people have speculated about why the Vikings sailed, fought, and traded. But maybe the Kagan wasn't a symbol of power or strength at all. Could be a vessel for exploring the unknown. Perhaps the ship, like the people who built it, was part of an ongoing search for something, whether it was land, treasure, or something more elusive, meaning. Historians often attribute everything to practical reasons, but sometimes it's the less tangible reasons that keep stories alive. Maybe the Kagan sailed away not for conquest, but for curiosity. The Vikings were driven by a deep sense of curiosity about the world around them, and this curiosity led them to explore and discover new lands. Consider this. Some Viking ships were intentionally left behind, buried in graves, sealed away in mounds as a way of honoring the dead. It's strange to think that something as grand as a Viking ship might be forgotten on purpose, but there's an odd sort of reverence in that idea. To honor something by letting it go, by sending it off into the sea with no expectation of its return, almost feels like a final act of love. And maybe that's what happened to the Kagan. It was left behind not out of neglect, but out of respect for the journey it had taken. Of course, historians continue to debate this point. Was the Kagan abandoned? Was it purposefully hidden? Or was it lost to the endless reach of the sea? These questions might never be answered, but they continue to be asked, day after day, century after century. It's the nature of mysteries. Once they grab hold, they rarely let go. And as you stand on the edge of the water, watching the soft waves lap against the shore, you can't help but feel that there's something profound about this mystery. The Kagan is gone, but its story remains not just in books or records, but in the way you imagine it, the way it feels to think about it. There's something both humbling and thrilling about that, isn't there? A ghost ship, forever sailing through your mind, never quite fading away. And so, the mystery continues, just as it has for centuries and just as it always will. Now, let's let that feeling wash over us. The Kagan may be lost, but the mystery lies in its true beauty. The cool air on the shoreline feels sharper now, as if the evening has deepened its grip on the world. The sun, long sunk beneath the horizon, casts a purple hue across the sky, and the waves, which once danced playfully on the shore, now seem more solemn. You breathe in the fresh, briny scent of the sea and, for a moment, close your eyes. The sound of the water lapping against the shore seems to whisper something, and you wonder, perhaps you're not alone after all. For centuries, their stories have been told over and over, yet something about them remains elusive, like the Kagi, a type of Viking ship known for its speed and agility. The reason we remain captivated by the Vikings is that we're drawn to their contradictions. The Vikings were, in many ways, an enigma wrapped in leather and iron. They were, at times, terrifying raiders, pillagers who stormed the coasts of Europe, spreading fear with their sudden and brutal attacks. And yet, when they weren't plundering, they were traders and explorers. The very people who brought terror to England and France were the same ones who established thriving trade routes, built long-lasting settlements, and even developed some of the earliest forms of democracy. They were a people who lived with one foot in the past and the other in the future, pushing the boundaries of their time, even if they did so with an axe in hand. But let's take a moment to step away from the warriors, their blood-soaked raids, their gleaming swords, and their fur-lined helmets. After all, we're here to relax. Let's consider something simpler, quieter, and less aggressive. Picture a Viking family sitting together around a fire. The flames dance in the hearth, casting flickering shadows across the walls of their longhouse. Outside, the cold wind howls, but inside, there's warmth. There's laughter, too. A story being told by an elder or perhaps a child's innocent observations. It's a different side of the Viking experience, one we often overlook. The Vikings weren't just warriors, they were also a deeply communal people. The hearth, the center of their homes, was the heart of their lives. Stories would be shared, songs would be sung, and every evening, they would sit together, recounting their day, their adventures, and their dreams. It's in these moments that you realize the Vikings felt most alive. Not in their raids, not in their conquests, but in the shared quiet moments of life. This sense of community is something we can all relate to, a shared experience that transcends time and culture. It's here, in the silence of the longhouse, that you begin to understand the Vikings' genuine connection to the sea. The ocean, with all its dangers and opportunities, was not just a battleground or a highway for conquest. It was a source of life, a connection to everything. And as the Vikings sat around their fires, they must have looked out toward the water, knowing that the sea was as much a part of their destiny as the land they walked on. And yet, just as quickly as you picture the fire, it's gone. The image fades, like smoke in the air, and you're back at the edge of the water, the shoreline stretching out endlessly before you. But that feeling, that moment of quiet reflection, lingers. You've probably heard about Viking warriors, the ones who wore iron and fur, who carried axes the size of small trees, and used their swords to conquer kingdoms. But how many of you have heard of Viking cooks? Yes, you heard me right. Viking cooks. While it's not the first thing that comes to mind when you think of raiders, these everyday heroes played a crucial role in Viking society. After all, even the fiercest warriors need to eat. And in a world without easy access to a McDonald's drive-thru, Food was an essential part of life. Now, before you start imagining a Viking cook throwing ingredients into a cauldron, chanting something about Norse gods while the pots boil over, let me tell you that Viking cuisine was far more practical than that. They ate what they could grow, what they could trade, and what they could hunt. This pragmatic approach to food reflects the resourcefulness and adaptability of the Vikings, who made the most of what they had, even in the harshest of conditions. They also preserved food, dried fish, salted meats, and grains, making sure they had enough to last during those long winters when the seas were too dangerous to navigate. Historians have unearthed Viking recipes, and some of them are surprisingly modern. They used a variety of root vegetables such as carrots and turnips. They even created a form of bread similar to what we eat today. Of course, they didn't have fancy ovens or electric mixers, but they did have one thing in abundance: time. Time to cook, time to savor their meals, and time to sit together as a family, just like in the Longhouse. But let's not get too carried away with culinary fantasies. The Vikings didn't exactly sit down to gourmet meals every evening. Their meals were often simple, made with what they had on hand. This simplicity in their approach to food is something we can all relate to, a return to the basics that brings a sense of comfort and familiarity. And you can imagine that, after a long day of raiding, sailing, or farming, the last thing they wanted to do was cook up some elaborate feast. They needed something quick, hearty, and filling, and Viking stew, made with whatever meat or fish was available, served that purpose perfectly. And here's something you might not know. The Vikings also had a thing for dairy. Yes, they were big on dairy products, particularly skyr, a type of yogurt that has been around for centuries and remains popular in Iceland today. So, the Vikings were ahead of their time when it came to healthy eating. Who knew? Yet, as we stand here on the edge of the water, gazing out into the infinite stretch of sea, we realize that food, like everything else in Viking life, was tied to something bigger. It wasn't just about eating, it was about surviving, about coming together. And maybe that's why the Kaghan itself was so important. It wasn't just a ship. It was a vehicle for life, for connection, for movement. It was a symbol of what the Vikings were capable of, and in a way, it embodied everything they stood for: adventure, survival, and the constant pursuit of something greater. You take another breath and look out toward the water. It's calm now, but you know that beneath the surface, the currents are constantly moving, shifting, and pulling things in different directions. And in that moment, you understand something. The Kaghan, like the sea, was never meant to be still. It was always in motion, always searching, always on the move. And so, as the night deepens around you, the mystery of the Kaghan continues. Perhaps it's best left as it is. An unanswered question, a riddle left to time. After all, some things are just meant to be left in the shadows, waiting for someone else to stumble upon them. As the night stretches out before you, the sea becomes even more still, almost as if it's holding its breath. You feel the weight of time pressing down on you, as though centuries of history are resting on your shoulders. There is a quiet kind of power in that, the weight of something larger than you, something ancient and enduring. But in this silence, something stirs again. Not the sea, not the winds, but your thoughts, carried along by the whispers of a legacy that still shapes our world today. You've been walking beside this shore for some time now, and your feet feel heavy with the journey. But you press on, your steps sinking deeper into the cool earth. The waves have become rhythmic, almost hypnotic, and your mind drifts with them. The Kaghan, once a mighty vessel, now feels like a memory of something long lost. A ship whose story is told not in words, but in the space between them. And then you remember, the Vikings were more than just warriors. They were seafarers, yes, but they were also builders. They forged entire settlements, constructed cities, and laid the groundwork for cultures that would endure for centuries. The Kaghan itself was a product of this drive, a symbol of the Vikings' ambition to explore, to push the boundaries of the world. But perhaps it was also a symbol of something else, a reminder of what happens when ambition fades away, when progress reaches the limit of its capabilities, and when time itself erases even the greatest of achievements. But here's the thing about time. It's not always as definitive as we think. Things don't always disappear completely. Sometimes they linger, waiting for someone to remember them. In the case of the Kagan, its legacy is still felt, though in unexpected ways. Its disappearance into the sea hasn't rendered it irrelevant. Instead, it has become a metaphor for exploration itself, an emblem of the mysteries that the ocean holds, mysteries that, like the Kagan, may never be fully solved. You see, the Vikings didn't just leave behind ships and settlements. They left behind a philosophy of exploration. They were curious, yes, but more importantly, they were persistent. They believed in the possibility of discovering something new, something beyond their grasp. And this is the spirit that drives us today, the same spirit that leads people to explore, to question, to reach into the unknown. Let's take a moment to think about something here. The Vikings' world was vast, yet limited. They didn't have satellites or GPS. They couldn't zoom out and see the world from above. They had to rely on their instincts, the stars, the oceans, and the land beneath their feet. For them, the world was both a map and a mystery, with the sea acting as both a barrier and a bridge to the unknown. And that's what makes the Kagan so fascinating. It was a bridge between worlds, an instrument of discovery. But like all bridges, it had its time and place, and when that time passed, it was left behind. Yet, even now, centuries later, the idea of the Kagan endures. Its absence has made it all the more powerful, like a legend that grows more vivid the more it's told. And so, as you stand here at the edge of the sea, you realize that you're not just standing at the edge of a body of water, you're standing at the edge of history itself, a history that lives on in the stories we tell and the reflections we share. This is the true legacy of the Kagan. Not the ship, not the materials from which it was made, but the spirit of adventure it represented. The Vikings' voyages were not just about conquering lands or raiding towns. They were about testing the limits of what was possible, about discovering new worlds, about pushing themselves to the edge of what they knew, and then stepping beyond it. And while the Kagan may have disappeared, its influence continues to ripple through time. If you listen closely now, you might hear the faintest whisper of the past in the soft lapping of the waves against the shore. The ocean carries these stories, holds them in its depths, where they remain unchanged, untouched by the ravages of time. The Vikings may be gone, but their voyages, discoveries, and restless spirits remain forever tied to the ocean. Just like the Kagan, these stories may disappear for a while, but they always find their way back. Now, picture this. Somewhere out there, in a distant land, a ship very much like the Kagan sets sail once again. Maybe it's not made of wood, maybe it's powered by engines and fueled by science, but the spirit is the same. The voyage continues, even in a world that seems to have mapped every inch of the globe. And perhaps, just perhaps, there is still some mystery left to uncover, some new Kagan yet to be discovered. As you stand by the water, the chill of the evening beginning to settle in around you, you can't help but feel that the journey is far from over. You too are on a trip, though it may not be one of ocean crossings or wild adventures. Perhaps your journey is quieter and more introspective. But it's yours nonetheless, and just like the Vikings, you too will encounter your mysteries along the way. They may not be as grand as the loss of a ship, but they are no less important. The stars are beginning to twinkle overhead, and you realize that the Kagan, though lost to time, is still very much with you. It lives on in the curiosity of explorers, in the quiet moments of reflection, and in the stories that continue to be passed down from one generation to the next. It's the mystery that never fades, the unanswered question that keeps us searching. And so, as the night deepens, the waters remain still. But deep down that the journey continues, just as it always has, just as it always will. In the quiet of the night, you find peace in knowing that some stories never truly end. They fade into the background, waiting for the next curious soul to stumble upon them. As you stand there, gazing at the horizon where the sea meets the sky, the world around you feels almost timeless. The night air is calm now, and the faint scent of the ocean lingers in your senses, steady and unchanging. The stars above twinkle in their eternal dance, watching over the world, just as they would have watched over the Vikings long ago, guiding their ships across the great unknown. This enduring legacy of the Vikings connects us to a rich historical tradition, reminding us of the timeless pursuit of exploration and discovery. However, time continues to move forward. The Vikings, with all their fire and fury, are now just a part of history, tucked away between the folds of centuries, their stories swirling around us like the mist over the water. But there's something deeper here, something more personal in the legacy they left behind. The Kaghan may have disappeared into the sea, but the Vikings didn't just leave behind ships. They left behind ideas, and those ideas are still with us today, carried forward in ways we may not even realize. It's easy to think of the Vikings as a relic of a far-off time, a chapter in the history books that we read about and quickly move on from. However, the truth is that the Vikings are still with us, alive in the fabric of modern life. Their influence stretches far beyond the confines of history and culture. Their restless drive to explore, to push boundaries, to leave their mark. These are qualities that are very much alive today, even in you. The personal relevance of the Viking legacy is a reminder that we all carry a piece of their spirit within us. Think about it. How many of us in our daily lives are chasing some form of the Kaghan? We may not be launching ships into the unknown, but we're constantly embarking on our voyages, seeking new experiences and new frontiers. We travel, we explore, and we discover new places, whether it's through travel, technology, or even in our careers. The Viking spirit of pushing past the horizon, of seeking new lands, is not so distant after all. And in that sense, maybe the Kaghan never left us. It's just that the voyage has evolved. This continuity of human exploration situates us within a broader narrative of human progress, where we continue the legacy of the Vikings in our unique ways. Please take a moment to consider the advances we've made in the past century alone. Just think of all the ways we've learned to explore, not just physically, but intellectually and technologically. We no longer need longships to cross vast distances. We have airplanes, satellites, and digital communication that connect us to the farthest reaches of the globe in an instant. It's a far cry from the wooden ships of the Vikings, but the spirit of exploration remains the same. And in a way, it's comforting to know that the essence of the Vikings lives on in the way we interact with the world today. We may not carry axes or swords, but we still face challenges. We still have goals, quests of our own, and in some cases we're still wandering across unknown waters, be it in our personal lives, careers, or even in the digital landscape. The Viking legacy endures in the decisions we make, the paths we take, and the way we confront the unknown, no matter how intimidating it may be. This is where the story of the Kaghan becomes something larger. It's not just about a ship disappearing into the sea. It's about the idea that sometimes things aren't meant to be found. Sometimes they're meant to be felt. It's the feeling of embarking on something uncertain, something full of potential, and knowing that the journey, no matter how far it takes us, is worth it. The Vikings, in their infinite wisdom, understood this better than anyone. They knew that life was a series of journeys, not just one destination. Imagine, then, that the Kaghan didn't disappear at all. Maybe it didn't sink into the depths of the ocean or rot away on some forgotten shore. What if it's still out there in the places we least expect? Not as a ship, but as an idea. Maybe it's in the way you approach your own life, how you set sail on new projects, new goals and dreams, never really knowing if you'll return or if the winds will carry you somewhere unexpected. The Vikings did it with their ships, but we do it every day with our aspirations. This, of course, brings us to the question of history itself. What makes a legend? What makes something worthy of being remembered? It's not always the grand victories or the famous leaders. Sometimes, it's the small, quiet moments that get overlooked, the things we don't know. The Kaghan is one of those things. The Viking ship that never came back may not have been the most celebrated of their vessels, but its mystery endures, and in that mystery, it invites us to keep asking questions. It invites us to wonder about the past, to explore what's hidden just beneath the surface. But as you stand on this shore, staring out at the still waters, you realize that sometimes the answers are less important than the questions themselves. Maybe it's enough to know that the Kagan has left a mark, not on the world of politics or warfare or civilization, but on the way we think, on the way we understand our journeys. As you look out at the sea, it seems as if the answers are right there, shimmering just beneath the surface, like reflections of the stars. But instead of diving in, you watch. You allow the questions to float by, knowing that in time you may find the answers. And that's all right, because the journey itself is enough. The Vikings may have sailed off into the unknown, but so too do we. Perhaps, like them, we'll never really arrive at a final destination. Instead, we'll continue to sail, to search, to explore, and maybe, just maybe, we'll encounter the Kagan again. Not in some faraway place, but in the spirit that guides us toward the horizon. For in every journey, there is a piece of that lost ship, of mystery, of discovery, of something beyond ourselves. And so, as the night deepens, you feel a sense of calm. The sea is vast, yes, but so are the stories it holds. The Vikings may be gone, but their spirit remains, alive in every quest, in every journey, and in every search for something just beyond our reach. And with that thought, you let go of the search for answers, knowing that some mysteries are best left to the sea. Now, as the waves gently lap against the shore, you take one last deep breath. There is peace in the unknown and comfort in knowing that the journey will never truly come to an end. You let the silence settle in around you, and with it, the quiet understanding that sometimes, it's the mysteries that make life worth living. The night grows deeper still, the darkness spreading slowly like ink in water. The sea, so vast and unyielding, reflects the sky's growing shadows. The stars above seem to glitter faintly, not as bold beacons but as soft, distant companions. The world around you is quiet, save for the occasional whisper of the breeze through the trees and the rhythmic pulse of the waves against the shore. The Viking stories, the ships, the lost Kagan, all seem distant now, not forgotten, but wrapped in a calm that belongs only to the ocean at night. But there's something about this quiet, something about the way the world falls into stillness, that makes you feel like there is more than just silence here. You realize it's not just the past that lingers around you, but a more profound, older understanding of life itself. The Vikings, as fierce as they were in battle, knew something about quiet moments. They understood the value of rest, of reflection, of being still in the face of an ever-changing world. This contrast between their ferocity and their appreciation for quiet moments is a testament to the depth of their character. Think of their journeys once more. The Vikings traveled far and wide, battling storms, and yet, they also knew how to take refuge in the calm. Even the most storied expeditions were peppered with times of silence. Long stretches when nothing happened but the slow rocking of the boat on the waves, the peaceful hum of the wind in the sails. It's during these times, when the world feels most still, that we are reminded that the Vikings, with all their ferocity, were also people who took the time to listen to the sea, to the earth, and to the stories they carried within them. In this stillness, you begin to understand that the Kagan, lost to history, wasn't just a vessel of wood and iron. It was a vessel of stories. The sea carries stories, after all, just as it carries ships. Those old sagas, passed down from generation to generation, live on in the quiet places, in the spaces between the rush and the clamor of life. It's in these moments of quiet reflection that the Vikings are most alive. You find yourself drifting back in time, imagining what it would have been like to sit on the edge of a longship, staring out at the open sea. The air would have been thick with salt, the wood beneath you creaking as the boat glided across the water. But in the silence of those moments, you would have heard the whisper of the past, of all the stories that had been lived before. It wasn't just the Kagan that was significant. It was every journey, every step, every moment that came before. And there's a certain comfort in that idea, isn't there? The Vikings didn't just live in the grandeur of battles and bloodshed. They lived in the quiet, too. They lived in the pauses between the action, in the long periods when they were waiting, resting, and listening. In a way, the Vikings weren't just warriors. They were observers of the world, taking in the sights, the sounds, and the stories as they journeyed through life. And when they didn't have the answers, they kept moving forward. They weren't afraid to let the mystery unfold before them. The silence of the sea now feels less like a void and more like a presence. Something that watches over you, guides you, and comforts you. The Kagan may be gone, but its story isn't. It lives on in the spaces between the stars, in the rhythm of the waves, and in the whispers of the wind. The story remains, carried forward by the very essence of the world itself. Consider this: the Vikings were masters of navigating the unknown. They charted the stars, they mapped the waters, and they found their way in a world that seemed full of mysteries. They didn't have Google Maps or compass apps. They had the sky, the sea, and each other. Their success wasn't just about being brave. It was about understanding the world around them, the rhythm of the tides, the constellations above, and the subtle shifts of the winds. They knew that the world was full of secrets, but that didn't deter them from seeking answers. It only fueled their determination to find them. And isn't that something we can all learn from the Vikings? That sense of quiet determination, the willingness to explore even when the answers aren't clear. We all have our own Kagan, a journey we're on, a mystery we're trying to solve, whether it's big or small. The Vikings show us that the quest is as important as the destination, that the seeking is just as meaningful as the finding. And sometimes, it's the quiet moments between the adventures that shape us the most. Now, as you stand here by the water, you begin to grasp the enormity of the Viking journey. Not just the voyages to distant lands, but the quieter, inner voyages they undertook as well. They didn't just explore the world. They explored themselves. They faced the unknown not only in the world around them, but also within their hearts. And in that, they were no different from us. We may not sail the same seas, but we are all seeking something. Something beyond the horizon. Something just out of reach. The night is deepening now, and the sea reflects the quiet contemplation of your thoughts. You begin to realize that the Kagan, that lost ship, was more than just a piece of history. It was a symbol of all the journeys we undertake, both in the world around us and within ourselves. And though it may have disappeared, its story continues to echo, not in the waves, but in the quiet places where we pause to listen. Just as the Vikings' legacy endures, so too can we leave a lasting mark on the world if we take the time to reflect on our journeys and the stories we carry within us. The stars twinkle faintly above you, their soft light mirroring the quiet glow of understanding that is beginning to take root in your heart. You breathe deeply, letting the calm wash over you. The Kagan may be gone, but its spirit lives on, alive in the quiet moments, in the gentle reminders that sometimes the journey itself is enough. This emphasis on the importance of peaceful moments in the Viking spirit reinforces the central theme of this essay, inviting readers to appreciate the value of introspection and reflection in their own lives. And so, as the night wraps itself around you like a comforting blanket, you feel a sense of peace. The Viking spirit, the spirit of exploration, of mystery, and of quiet contemplation, is alive in you in this moment. And in that silence, you find something far more valuable than answers. You see the quiet joy of the journey itself. Now, let the sea's rhythm guide you into rest. The Viking world may be far behind us, but its echo will always remain. Like the waves, it continues, never ceasing, always moving forward. The breeze has softened now, the quiet of the evening wrapping around you like a warm, familiar blanket. The waves are gentle, their rhythmic pulse lulling you into a deeper state of calm. You can feel the weight of the past, heavy yet peaceful, as it settles into the present, where time seems to slow down, folding in on itself like an endless loop. You're no longer just standing on the shore. You're drifting with the flow of the centuries, walking alongside the Vikings, feeling their presence as if they are right there with you. It's funny how time, that great, relentless force, seems to blur the lines between the past and the present. The Vikings, for all their bravery and strength, are no different from us in this moment. Sure, they sailed in longships, wielded swords, and carved their names into the very fabric of history. But in the end, they were people. They laughed, they loved, they fought, and they wondered about the same things we wonder about today. The world around them, the mysteries of the sea, and the limits of what they could achieve. But what draws you in is the unparalleled courage they displayed in the face of the unknown. The Vikings lived in an era when they were unaware of what lay beyond the horizon. They set out on long voyages, crossing vast oceans, not knowing if they would return, not knowing if their ships would be lost to the storm or some unseen force. And yet they sailed. They faced the unknown with a courage that echoes through the centuries, determination, and a quiet understanding that some things are meant to be explored. And here you are now, standing on the edge of the same vast expanse they once navigated. The sea, though calmer, still holds that same mystery, that same pull. The Vikings were drawn to it, and now so are you. Perhaps it's in our nature to seek the unknown, to reach beyond what we can see, to push the boundaries of our understanding. Maybe, in some way, we are all Vikings, setting sail on our journeys, searching for something just out of reach, something greater than ourselves. But as you stand here, staring out at the horizon, you begin to realize that perhaps the most fantastic voyage of all isn't the one that takes us across oceans or to distant lands. It's the voyage within, the journey into the quiet spaces of our minds. The Vikings may have set sail on great ships, but perhaps the most important ship of all is the one that carries us inward, toward understanding, toward wisdom, and ultimately toward peace. The stars above you are brighter now, their light steady and unwavering. You wonder what the Vikings thought when they looked up at the same stars, how they must have used the constellations to guide them on their journeys. The North Star, always there to lead them home. It's said that the Vikings were masters of navigation, reading the sky and the sea like no one else. And yet, despite their knowledge, they didn't have all the answers. The mysteries of the world were as vast and unknowable to them as they are to us now. They, too, had to rely on faith, on intuition, and on a belief that the journey was worth it, no matter where it might lead. And maybe that's the key here. The Vikings were brave, yes, but they were also humble. They didn't have the luxury of knowing what lay ahead, and yet they still ventured forth. They understood that the journey itself was just as important as the destination. It was in the trying, in the seeking, in the questioning that they found meaning. The answers may have been elusive, but that didn't stop them from looking. They weren't afraid to face the unknown, to set sail into the uncharted waters, because they knew that there was value in the search itself. Now, as the stars continue to sparkle above you, you feel a deep sense of connection, not just to the Vikings, but to the entire human story that has come before and will continue after. We are all part of a long, unbroken thread of stories, each one weaving its way through time, passing down lessons, wisdom, and mysteries. And perhaps, when it's all said and done, we will all have our own Kagan, our journeys, our quests for something we can't quite define, but know is worth pursuing. The Vikings may have sailed into the unknown, but so too do we. With every step you take on this quiet shore, you realize that the Kagan was never really lost at all. It has lived on in every person who has ever dared to step into the unknown, to chase a dream, to venture into the depths of mystery. Its legacy is not in the ship itself, but in the spirit of exploration it embodies. And that spirit is alive in you, in all of us, as we continue to seek, to wander, and to wonder. The night is entirely upon you now, and the ocean stretches out into infinity. The air is cool, but it feels like a soft embrace, a reminder that the journey never ends. You have made it this far, just as the Vikings made it to the farthest corners of the world. And now you stand at the threshold of your adventure, whatever it may be. The Kagan may have disappeared, but it has left behind a legacy, one that continues to guide us forward into the vast unknown. As you take a final, deep breath of the cool night air, you feel a quiet peace settle within you. The journey is not over. It never will be. The questions will always remain. The mysteries will always beckon. But in the stillness of this moment, you understand that it is not the answers that matter most. It is the ongoing journey, the seeking, and the willingness to venture into the unknown that keep us engaged and moving forward. So, let the waves whisper their secrets. Let the stars shine their ancient light. The Vikings may have sailed long ago, but their spirit is here with you now, guiding you forward into your journey. The Kagan may have vanished, but its legacy is alive and well, carried forward in the hearts of those who, like you, continue to seek the horizon. As the night stretches on, the world falls into a peaceful quiet, and you, too, find your rest. As the night deepens, the horizon merges with the sky, forming a soft gradient of blue and black. The stars above seem to blink in and out of existence, as if they are nodding off to sleep themselves. The sea, which once seemed so vast and formidable, now appears to be a gentle expanse, a mirror reflecting the quiet within you. The world around you is still, the night as thick as a blanket, wrapping you in an embrace that feels as though time has paused, just for you. But even in this peaceful moment, something stirs. A question, or perhaps a longing, something just out of reach, like the very edge of the horizon. You wonder, as you stand there, how the Vikings would have felt in moments like these. Would they have stood on the shores of their homeland, looking out over the sea, and felt the same sense of longing, the same pull to journey? You imagine them, their eyes scanning the water, their minds racing with thoughts of distant lands and unknown shores. They were explorers, yes, but they were also dreamers. They understood the balance between the known and the unknown, the present and the future. And in that balance, they found meaning. Perhaps that's the allure of the Viking spirit, their relentless pursuit to comprehend the world, even when they didn't have all the answers. They didn't just sail for the sake of sailing. They sailed to unearth, to learn, and to connect with the world in ways that were unknown to them. They lived in a world where mystery was not something to be feared, but something to be embraced. The unknown was not a void. It was a space brimming with possibilities, full of potential. As you stand there, lost in the rhythm of the waves, you realize that this is something we've lost in the modern world. We've become so focused on finding answers and uncovering the truth that we've forgotten the power of mystery itself. The Vikings didn't know the outcome of their voyages. They didn't know whether they would reach new lands or return home. But that uncertainty, that not knowing, didn't stop them. It drove them forward. And so, as you stand on this shore, gazing out at the horizon, you can't help but think about your journey. What are you searching for? What is it that calls to you, just like the sea called to the Vikings? This is not just a story about the Vikings. It's about your journey, your quest for meaning. Perhaps you're not sailing across oceans, but you're embarking on your voyage. Whether it's a personal quest, a professional challenge, or simply a search for peace and understanding. And just like the Vikings, you don't have to have all the answers. Sometimes it's enough to set sail. In these moments of quiet reflection, you realize that the journey is not just about the destination. It's about the process, the steps you take, and the experiences you gather along the way. The Vikings understood this. They didn't measure their success by the lands they conquered or the treasures they accumulated. They measured it by the journeys they made, by the stories they collected, and by the courage they showed in the face of the unknown. Their bravery is a testament to the human spirit, inspiring us to face our challenges with courage and determination. And perhaps, as you stand here now, you realize that the Kagan, the lost Viking ship, isn't lost at all. It's here with you, in the journey you're taking. The vessel represents the unknown, the adventure, the search for meaning. It's not about the physical ship, it's about what it stands for. The Kagan is a symbol of the journey, the adventure, and the search for meaning. It's the reminder that sometimes the greatest treasure is not what you find, but what you learn along the way. The Kagan may have vanished from history, but its legacy lives on in the spirit of exploration, in the hearts of those who dare to journey into the unknown. The wind picks up, softly ruffling your hair, and you take a deep breath, feeling the salty air fill your lungs. You realize that in this moment, you are not just standing by the sea. You are standing at the edge of something much larger, something timeless. You are part of a long, unbroken chain of explorers, dreamers, and seekers, each one contributing their chapter to the incredible story of human curiosity. As the night deepens, you feel the weight of this realization. It's both humbling and liberating to know that you, like the Vikings, are part of something far bigger than yourself. And with that thought, you let go of the need for answers, of the urge to find the final piece of the puzzle. You understand that the journey is the answer, the search itself the meaning. The waves continue to whisper their secrets, and you stand there, at peace with the unknown. For the first time in a long time, you feel genuinely at ease with the mystery, knowing that it is not something to fear but something to embrace. The Kagan is gone, but its spirit remains in the journeys we take, in the paths we choose, and in the questions we ask as we continue forward into the unknown. And so, as the sea stretches out before you, endless and full of possibilities, you step forward into the night. The journey continues, and with each step, you are reminded that the most significant discoveries are not the ones we find, but the ones we become along the way. The sea, undisturbed and endless, stretches before you, a breathtaking sight that has captivated explorers and poets for centuries. The darkness of the night seems to fold into itself, a velvety blanket covering the world. There is a quiet beauty in the way the world around you has fallen into this serene rhythm, the waves still whispering their ancient song, the stars twinkling softly above, like distant beacons calling to you, guiding you. Time feels suspended in this moment, as though the boundaries between the past and the present have dissolved, leaving you suspended in the vastness of this shared history. But as you stand there, taking in the quiet majesty of it all, you realize that the sea is not just a place. It's a concept, a vast expanse full of unknowns, of mysteries, of challenges. The Vikings saw the sea as a living, breathing force, a force that could take them to new lands or swallow them whole, a place both life-giving and destructive. And in that paradox, they found meaning. They didn't fear the sea, they revered it. To them, the ocean was not something to be conquered, but something to be understood. They embraced it, much as we must embrace the challenges that come our way, with the same courage that propelled the Vikings forward. The idea of the sea, vast and infinite, is a powerful metaphor for the human experience. We are all, in a way, voyagers, setting out across our oceans, navigating the unknown waters of our lives. And just like the Vikings, we don't always know where we are going. We don't have all the answers, but we do have something equally valuable: the courage to set sail. As the gentle breeze stirs around you, you feel that courage rising within you, as if the spirit of the Vikings has somehow found its way into your heart. It's a quiet strength, a realization that the journey, whatever it may be, is worth it. Even when the waters are murky, even when the path ahead seems unclear, there's something beautiful in the pursuit of discovery. The Vikings understood this, and now you do too. But there's more to the story, more to the journey. Because what the Kagan symbolizes is not just the exploration of the world, it's the exploration of the self. The Vikings didn't just voyage to new lands. They voyaged inward, exploring the boundaries of their courage, their endurance, and their own will to survive. They didn't just conquer kingdoms, they conquered themselves. And isn't that what we do every day? Every time we take a risk, every time we make a decision that feels uncertain, we are exploring our own personal oceans. We are learning to trust ourselves, to navigate through the fog, and to hold steady when the winds are harsh. And just like the Vikings, we often don't know what lies ahead. But we do know that the journey is worth taking. For every Kagan that is lost, countless others continue to cross the seas of time and space, leaving behind stories, lessons, and echoes that will be passed down for generations. The Vikings may have sailed into the unknown, but they left us with something far more powerful than any ship or treasure. The legacy of their spirit, their thirst for discovery, and their unyielding will to venture forward. So, as you stand here, looking out at the endless horizon, you realize that the journey doesn't need to have a destination. It's the journey itself that matters. It's the act of setting sail, of venturing out into the unknown, of trusting that no matter where you end up, you will have discovered something invaluable along the way. The sea is infinite, yes, but so are the possibilities. Every wave, every gust of wind, every shifting tide is a new chapter in the story of your voyage. And there's something deeply comforting in that, isn't there? To know that the path is endless, that there will always be new horizons to explore and new adventures to undertake, and that the journey is the destination. As you stand there, lost in the vastness of it all, the truth becomes clear. You are not just a part of history, you are a part of the ongoing journey. The Kagan may have disappeared into the sea, but its essence lives on in the way we continue to sail through life, seeking, exploring, learning, and growing. The Vikings may have set sail on their journey centuries ago, but their spirit, embodied in their ships, stories, and voyages, continues to inspire and move us forward. The night stretches on, and the sea remains calm, undisturbed by the passing of time. But you know that even in the stillness, the world is full of motion. The currents are shifting, the tides are turning, and new ships are setting sail as we speak. It's a reminder that the journey is never truly over. It's only just begun. And remember, you are not alone in this journey. Others are sailing alongside you, facing their challenges, and together, we form a community of voyagers, supporting each other in our quests. You feel a quiet peace wash over you now, the weight of your journey settling gently in your heart. The sea, vast and infinite, continues to stretch out before you, offering up its mysteries, its challenges, and its wonders. And as you turn your gaze back toward the land, you know that whatever lies ahead, you are ready. You are prepared to face the unknown, to embrace the adventure, and to sail forward into the next chapter of your story. The Vikings may have been the great explorers of their time, but you too are an explorer. Your voyage is unique, and it is yours to make. So, take a moment to reflect, to breathe, and to let the quiet strength of the sea guide you forward. The journey is yours, and the horizon is yours to chase. Remember, each wave, each gust of wind, and each shifting tide is an opportunity for self-reflection and learning. Embrace these moments, for they are the ones that will shape your journey and build your resilience. And with that, the night carries you onward, as it always does, into the unknown, with the soft assurance that you are not alone. The winds are with you, the stars are watching over you, and the endless sea of possibilities is yours to navigate. The night has now settled fully into its embrace, the world around you a soft, darkened canvas where every sound, no matter how faint, seems amplified. The rhythmic pulse of the waves against the shore is the only sound that remains constant, gently pulling at the corners of your thoughts, guiding them back to the mysteries of the sea, to the lost Kagan, to the voyages of the Vikings that still echo across time. You find yourself wondering, in the quiet of this night, how many more Kagans there are. Not the physical ships, of course, but the metaphorical ones, the ventures, the dreams, the journeys that remain uncharted. The Kagan, a symbol of the unknown and the spirit of exploration, was lost to history, but it continues to influence our thinking about the mysteries of life. You are standing at the edge of your journey now, and it's hard not to feel the weight of what it means to be here, in this moment, in this quiet space between the past and the future. The Kagan, though lost to history, continues to influence our thinking about exploration, discovery, and the unknowable aspects of life. The Vikings set out on their journeys not with certainty, but with hope, courage, and the belief that the unknown was worth embracing. Isn't that what we do, too? We may not be sailing across vast oceans or discovering new lands. Still, we are constantly setting out on our voyages. Some big, some small, each one driven by a sense of curiosity, a need to understand, and a desire to know what lies beyond the horizon. The Kagan was lost, yes, but in a sense, it has returned again and again, in every act of exploration, in every quest for something more. The truth is, you are part of that return. You are not just a bystander but an active participant in the ongoing legacy of the Viking spirit. It's not a spirit of conquest or domination, but a spirit of discovery, of seeking, of daring to step into the unknown, even when the way forward is unclear. Every time you step out of your comfort zone, every time you venture into uncharted waters, you become part of the story of exploration. You are adding to the legacy of the Kagan, not by finding it, but by continuing the journey it represents. And just as the Vikings returned from their journeys, bringing back treasures and stories, you too will get back something from your journey. It might not be gold or silver, but it will be something of immeasurable value. Experience, understanding, and wisdom. The Kagan may never be found, but that is not the point. What matters is that its legacy lives on, not in the ship, but in the spirit of every person who dares to venture beyond the edge of what they know. There's something deeply comforting in that. The mysteries we chase don't have to be solved to be valuable. Sometimes, the act of searching itself holds more meaning than the destination ever could. The Vikings didn't need to know what was out there to keep sailing forward. They believed that there was something worth finding, even if they couldn't always see it. That belief, that spirit, is what propelled them across the seas, and it's what continues to push us today as we navigate our own lives. The journey is not about reaching a specific point, but about the experiences and growth we gain along the way. The wind has shifted slightly now, a calm, comforting breeze that stirs the air around you. It feels almost as if the world is breathing with you, syncing itself with your thoughts. You stand at the edge of the land, looking out at the endless horizon, and for a moment you feel a deep connection to those who have come before you. The Vikings, the explorers, the dreamers. Their spirit is alive in you, in every step you take, every decision you make. You are not alone in this journey but part of a timeless narrative of exploration and discovery. And in this quiet moment, you understand that this is how we live our lives. Not in search of perfect answers, but in search of meaning. The Kagan may never return, but what it represents is timeless. The drive to venture into the unknown, to explore, to search for something that calls to us. The Vikings didn't just leave behind ships and settlements. They left behind a way of looking at the world, a way of approaching life with courage and curiosity. And in this moment, that same way of thinking has settled into your heart, inspiring you to face the unknown with bravery and a thirst for knowledge. The stars above seem to shine just a little brighter now, their light warm and reassuring, as if to remind you that the journey continues, even when the path isn't clear. The ocean, endless and unyielding, stretches before you, and though you can't see what lies beyond the horizon, you know that it's waiting for you. The wind picks up again, but this time it feels like a call. Not an urgent one, but a gentle invitation to keep moving forward, to keep seeking, to keep exploring. And you realize that, in a way, the journey has already begun. You are already on your way, already moving toward the next chapter of your story. The Kagan may have disappeared into the sea, but its spirit lives on, not just in the past, but in the very act of moving forward, in the constant quest for discovery. And so, as the night wraps itself around you like a soft, comfortable blanket, you take one last look at the vast, endless sea. The mystery remains, but you're no longer afraid of it. The unknown is not something to fear. It's something to embrace, something to seek. The Vikings understood this, and now you do too. You're part of the journey, part of the great, never-ending quest that stretches across time and space. And with that, you step forward, ready to sail into the subsequent unknown, knowing that no matter where the journey takes you, the spirit of the Kagan will always be there, waiting to guide you. As the ocean waves continue their soft lullaby, you close your eyes, and with a quiet, peaceful heart, you drift off into the promise of another journey, another story waiting to be told. The night envelopes you like a familiar cloak, a comforting and safe embrace. The ocean, once a restless creature, now breathes gently beside you, a quiet companion. The stars, dimming with the rise of the moon, cast a soft light across the water, creating a moment of perfect balance. Time seems to pause, and you find contentment in this space between the past and the future. It's in these moments, these quiet, reflective pauses, that the true essence of the journey begins to reveal itself. You think back on the Vikings, their voyages, their audacity, their courage, and their profound relationship with the sea. You've walked alongside them now, in the quiet spaces between the waves, in the moments of stillness, and you've seen the world not just through their eyes, but through your own. Their spirit of exploration and discovery has left an imprint on your own heart, and you can't help but feel the quiet excitement of the unknown stretching out before you, calling to you in the same way it once called to them. And yet, as you stand here now, you realize something vital. It's not about the destinations. The Vikings didn't need to find every treasure, discover every new land, or complete every map they started. Their true legacy lies in their willingness to sail, to venture, to live with the mystery. They embraced life not in the certainty of the destination, but in the act of searching itself. It's an understanding that resonates deeply with you now, standing at the edge of the world, surrounded by the soft sounds of the sea and the quiet pulse of the universe. The Kagan teaches a profound lesson, even in its absence. The journey is as significant as the destination. The Vikings' voyages were not just about reaching a destination, but about embracing the process, the discovery, and the transformation that occur along the way. This realization inspires you, reminding you that the journey itself shapes and molds you, leading you to the answers you seek, even when they are not yet visible. The sea, vast and full of secrets, continues its gentle rhythm. It moves with a quiet confidence, and in its movements, you see the essence of the Vikings' voyages. The sea is not just a destination for them. It is a teacher, a guide, and a place of reflection. They didn't conquer it. They understood it. They learned its moods, its movements, its silence, and its storms. And in that understanding, they found their place in the world. In a way, the ocean itself is a journey, constantly changing, constantly moving, and forever teaching those who are brave enough to listen. As you stand by the shore, lost in this quiet contemplation, you begin to understand the true meaning of the voyage. It's not about the shores you reach, but about the person you become along the way. The Kagan, that ship, that mystery, symbolizes that journey. It's not the ship itself that matters, but the way it carries us forward, toward the places we cannot yet see. The Vikings' ships, in all their grace and power, were vessels for more than just physical travel. They were vessels for the soul, carrying with them the dreams, hopes, and ambitions of those who dared to sail. And in their wake, they left behind not just new lands but also new versions of themselves, shaped and transformed by the journey. As you gaze out over the ocean, you realize that you are not a mere observer but an active participant in this incredible journey. You are part of the unbroken thread of explorers, dreamers, and seekers who have come before you. The Kagan was a part of their journey, and now it is a part of yours. There is comfort in knowing that you are following a path that has been trodden for centuries, a path that leads to discovery, growth, and a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you. The wind shifts gently once more, as if reminding you that the world is ever changing, ever evolving, and that you, too, are a part of that process. The journey is never truly over. It simply takes on new forms, new directions, and new lessons to learn. And that is the essence of life itself. To move forward, to explore, and to grow, all while remaining rooted in the understanding that every moment of the journey holds value. You, dear reader, are not just a passive observer in this journey, but an active participant, shaping your path and discovering your truths. The Vikings may have set out on their long voyages in search of new lands and treasures, but perhaps what they were seeking was something more profound. An understanding of their place in the world, a connection to the mysteries that lay beyond their grasp, and a peace that only comes from embracing the unknown. It's something you now feel within yourself, a quiet sense of understanding, as if you, too, have crossed an ocean, passed through a storm, and emerged wiser, calmer, and more at peace. This understanding, this peace, is the true treasure of the journey, far more valuable than any physical destination. And so, as the night deepens and the ocean continues to hum its eternal song, you feel a deep sense of gratitude. You are a part of something larger, something infinite, something that stretches back through time, connecting you to the Vikings and to everyone who has ever dared to journey into the unknown. The sea, with all its mysteries and its vastness, remains your constant companion, guiding you forward on your voyage. In this moment, there is peace, there is rest, there is understanding. The Kagan may have vanished, but its spirit, its legacy, continues to live on in the quiet places. The places where dreams are made, where journeys begin, and where the unknown is not feared, but embraced. Now, with the ocean's lullaby playing softly in your ears, you let yourself drift, not toward the answers, but toward the quiet beauty of the journey itself. The unknown will always be there, just beyond the horizon, but for now you are content. The journey continues, and so do you, walking forward into the infinite sea of possibilities. As the night draws deeper, the silence envelopes you like a warm, gentle wave, carrying you into a space where the boundaries of time and place seem to blur. The quiet rhythm of the ocean calls to you, reminding you that some stories, like the ocean itself, have no true end, only moments of calm reflection before the next journey begins. The stars, now at their full brilliance, guide you through the darkness, their light a constant in a world that seems to shift and change with every passing moment. And so, here you are, standing at the crossroads of your journey. The sea stretches endlessly before you, an expanse of possibilities, of unknowns, of dreams yet to be realized. You think about the Vikings again, their relentless pursuit of the horizon, their unyielding spirit that pushed them to explore, to discover, to challenge the very limits of the world they knew. They sailed without knowing what they would find, only that the journey itself was worth taking. The Kagan, in its mystery, symbolizes that spirit, a ship lost in time but forever present in the hearts of those who continue to seek. In this moment, you realize that the journey is never truly about reaching a final destination. It's not about finding the answers, because the answers are constantly shifting, constantly evolving. The journey is about the act of seeking itself, the process of moving forward, of navigating the unknown. The Vikings understood this truth, and in their voyages, they left us a gift. The understanding that we are all explorers, each on our quest to understand the world and our place in it. The Kagan may have disappeared beneath the waves, but its spirit continues to echo in every quest, every challenge, every venture we undertake. It's not about the ships we sail or the lands we discover. It's about the journey we make, the courage we show, and the lessons we learn along the way. The Vikings didn't just navigate the seas. They navigated life itself, embracing the unknown with open hearts and open minds. And in that, they found meaning. You take a deep breath, feeling the cool night air fill your lungs, and you realize that the sea before you is not just a symbol of mystery. It's a symbol of possibility. It's the canvas on which your journey will be painted, the expanse where your dreams will unfold. Just as the Vikings sailed forth without knowing what lay ahead, you too are stepping into the unknown, but with a deep sense of purpose, a quiet confidence that whatever comes your way will be part of your own story. The wind rustles the trees nearby, and you feel a soft tug at your heart, as though the world is gently urging you forward, encouraging you to continue the journey, to move beyond the familiar and into the vast, uncharted waters. The horizon beckons, not as a distant place to reach, but as a space to explore, a place to grow. The sea, infinite and ever-changing, offers its invitation to all who are willing to listen, to those who are eager to step into the unknown with faith and curiosity. In this moment, you understand that you are not alone on this journey. You stand on the shoulders of countless explorers, dreamers, and seekers who have come before you. The Vikings, the ancient travelers, the wanderers of the world. They are all with you, in the whispers of the sea, in the gentle pull of the stars, and in the unspoken courage that stirs within you. Their stories, their quests, and their voyages are part of the fabric of your own life, woven into the very essence of your being. And you, in turn, are part of a community of seekers, all moving forward together. This community, this shared journey, is a source of strength and inspiration, a reminder that you are never truly alone. The night deepens around you, the stars now shimmering like distant beacons of hope. The ocean, vast and infinite, continues its soft, rhythmic lullaby, and you, too, begin to feel a sense of peace settle within you. You are part of something much larger than yourself, part of the ongoing story of exploration and discovery that stretches back through time. The Kagan may have disappeared, but its legacy lives on in you, in your journey, in the dreams that call to you from beyond the horizon. And so, with the peace of the sea in your heart, you step forward, ready for whatever the future may hold. The unknown is no longer something to fear. It is something to embrace, something to welcome with open arms. Yes, there will be moments of fear, but remember, fear is just a sign that you are pushing your boundaries. The journey is yours, and the horizon is yours to chase. It takes courage to step into the unknown, and you have that courage within you. As the waves continue their gentle song, you feel the weight of the world lift from your shoulders, replaced by a quiet, comforting sense of purpose. The Vikings may have sailed into the unknown, but so too will you. And as you move forward, you carry with you the spirit of the Kagan, the spirit of those who dared to dream, who dared to journey, and who found meaning in the pursuit of the unknown. Remember, the journey will not always be smooth. There will be storms, there will be rough seas, but these are just part of the adventure. Embrace them, learn from them, and let them shape you into the person you are meant to be. This journey will transform you, and the person you become will be a testament to the power of the unknown. The night unfolds before you like a vast, open ocean, and you, like the Vikings before you, are ready to sail. The ocean stretches endlessly before you, like an unspoken promise, waiting to be discovered. The stars shimmer above, their light offering a silent guide, as if they've seen countless souls before yours, embarking on journeys both great and small. There's a profound peace here, a tranquility that envelopes you, grounding you in the present moment and the vast, ancient, and timeless nature of the world. This tranquility brings a sense of calm and centeredness, allowing you to embrace the journey ahead fully. You pause for a moment, feeling the cool, salt-kissed breeze on your skin. The sea, with its endless rhythm, seems to echo inside you now, its steady pulse syncing with the beat of your heart. In the silence, there's a profound sense of continuity, a reminder that the world is always in motion, constantly shifting, but somehow always the same. The Vikings, with their bold ships and fearless explorations, found their place within this grand cycle, as have countless others. Now, so too do you, feeling a part of this timeless journey. What is it that calls us to venture into the unknown? What is it that pushes us forward, even when the path ahead is unclear? The Vikings, with their bold ships and fearless explorations, found their place within this grand cycle, as have countless others, and now, so too do you. They sailed to distant lands, braving the vast unknown, with nothing but the horizon in front of them. And still they sailed, not because they knew they would find treasure or glory, but because there was something in the journey itself that was worth pursuing. It was the journey that gave meaning to their lives, just as it gives meaning to ours. As you stand here, looking out at the dark expanse of the ocean, you realize that you, too, are on a journey. It's not a voyage across physical lands, but a voyage inward, a search for meaning, for understanding, for connection. The Vikings set sail to discover new lands, but in doing so, they found parts of themselves they hadn't known existed. They didn't need a final destination. They only needed the courage to continue, to keep moving forward into the unknown, with no guarantees, only the promise of discovery. And this journey, like theirs, is ongoing, with each step bringing new revelations and growth, inspiring you to keep moving forward. The ongoing nature of the journey should inspire and motivate you to keep exploring and discovering. And so, as you stand at the edge of the world, your journey begins to take shape in the quiet space between you and the sea. You realize that the Kagan, the lost ship, was never truly lost. It lives on, not as a physical vessel, but as a symbol of all the journeys that still await us. It is a reminder that the most significant discoveries are not always the ones we seek, but the ones that find us along the way. You take a deep breath, letting the cool air fill your lungs. The ocean continues to hum its ancient song, its voice steady and sure, like the heartbeat of the world. And you, standing on this shore, are a part of it all. The waves rise and fall, the stars spin above, and the world continues to move in its endless rhythm. There's no need to rush, no need to hurry. The journey itself is enough. The Vikings, with all their power and ambition, understood that. They knew that life wasn't just about the destination, but about the path that led them there. The challenges, the discoveries, the lessons learned along the way. The Kagan may have vanished into the depths of the sea, but its legacy remains, not in the ship itself, but in the way it embodied the Viking spirit of exploration, of seeking, of embracing the unknown. And as you stand here, watching the waves break against the shore, you feel that same spirit stirring within you. The unknown isn't something to fear. It's something to embrace, to explore, to understand. The mysteries of life, like the mysteries of the sea, are not meant to be solved, but to be lived with, to be understood in their own time, in their way. Embracing the unknown should make you feel courageous and adventurous, ready to face whatever comes your way. So you step forward, gently, as if the very earth beneath your feet is guiding you along the path. The journey ahead is still shrouded in mystery, but you know, deep down, that it doesn't matter. What matters is that you continue forward, that you remain open to whatever comes your way, and that you carry with you the same courage the Vikings carried into their voyages. You are, in your way, an explorer, a seeker, just as they were. The night deepens further, and the sea's song becomes a lullaby. The stars above twinkle softly, and the waves, now almost still, whisper of the long, quiet journeys yet to come. The Kagan may have vanished, but its spirit is here, in the rhythm of the ocean, in the silence of the night, in the promise that the journey never truly ends. You smile to yourself, feeling the peace of the moment settle within you. Whatever lies ahead, you are ready. The unknown is no longer something to fear, but something to embrace with open arms, just as the Vikings once embraced the sea. You are prepared for the adventure, for the exploration, for the quiet discovery. The spirit of the journey, it is alive within you now, and you are ready to embrace it. And with that understanding, you close your eyes, letting the rhythm of the waves carry you into the deep, peaceful quiet of the night. The journey continues, forever forward, forever unknown, but always full of possibility. This journey, this voyage of self-discovery, is yours to embrace and yours to explore. The unknown is not to be feared, but to be lived with, to be understood in its own time, in its own way. The silence of the night holds a particular kind of peace, a tranquil kind of closure. The stars are now dimming slowly, giving way to the first hints of morning. The horizon, once dark and endless, is now softening with the first blush of dawn. The sea, once so vast and mysterious, now feels a little more familiar, a little more connected to you. It no longer feels like an endless expanse. Instead, it feels like a companion, something you've walked alongside, a silent guide. The quiet of the ocean, with its steady rhythm of waves, is a reminder that everything has its own time, its flow, and in that quiet flow everything belongs. As the first light of day brushes across the water, you feel a quiet sense of completion. The Kagan, the Vikings, their voyages, all of it now feels like a distant memory, not in the sense that it has faded away, but because it has found its place in the tapestry of time. Just as the night must give way to dawn, just as the waves must eventually recede to reveal the shore, so too have the stories of the past unfolded to create space for the future. The Vikings are no longer here in the flesh, but their legacy, their spirit of exploration, curiosity, and courage, lives on in the choices we make, in the journeys we embark on, and in the quiet moments when we pause to reflect on the paths we are walking. This spirit is not just a historical fact, but a part of our journey. The Kagan may have been lost to the sea, but in the end, it wasn't the ship that mattered. It was the spirit of discovery, the willingness to sail into the unknown, that carried forward through time. And that spirit, like the ocean itself, continues to flow within us, whether we're aware of it or not. As you stand on the shore, the ocean now calm beneath the soft light of dawn, you feel the weight of all those who have come before you, all those who have dared to journey, to explore, to seek. The Vikings are a part of that long, unbroken line of explorers. And so, in a way, are you. You're not standing on the shore alone. You're standing with the weight of all those who have walked this path before you, all those who have gazed out at the horizon and wondered what lies beyond it. Their journeys continue through you, through your search for meaning, for understanding, for connection. You are not just a solitary figure on the shore, but a vital part of a grand narrative, a continuation of a legacy that stretches back through time. This sense of connection to the past roots you in a larger narrative, making you feel part of something greater. As the day breaks entirely, you turn away from the water, knowing that the journey is far from over. It never truly ends. The horizon will always beckon, and as long as we are alive, we will continue to seek, to explore, and to wonder. But that's what makes life worth living. The fact that we are constantly moving, always growing, and always learning. The Viking spirit is alive and well in every one of us, in every decision we make to move forward, even when the path is uncertain, even when the destination is unknown. This journey is not a one-time event, but a continuous process of self-discovery and personal growth, a thread that connects us to the past and guides us into the future. It's about the journey itself, the continuous process of self-discovery and personal growth that makes life worth living. You pause for a moment, taking one last look at the sea, and feel a deep sense of peace settle over you. The mysteries of the world, like the waves themselves, will always come and go. But what remains is the journey, the quiet continuation, the steady pull forward into the unknown. As you walk away from the shore, the day entirely unfolding before you, there's no need to hurry. There's no need to rush. The journey will continue, and you will continue with it, just as the Vikings did, just as the Kagan did. The path ahead may be uncertain, but you now carry with you the understanding that it's not about the destination. It's about the voyage itself. Every step forward is part of something greater, part of a story that continues to unfold with each passing moment. The journey is not a static point in time, but a dynamic process in which you actively participate, shaping it with each step you take and writing your own unique story. This ongoing nature of the journey makes you feel engaged and active in your personal growth. And so, as the day stretches before you, full of promise and possibility, you feel ready. Ready for whatever comes next. The horizon is yours to chase, the journey yours to define. With each step, the spirit of the Kagan lives on, and in that, you find comfort, courage, and the quiet joy of knowing that you are part of an endless, ever-evolving adventure. You are not just a passive participant in the journey, but an active agent, shaping the path you take and the story you write with each decision you make. This sense of readiness for the future makes you feel prepared and optimistic. The ocean's lullaby fades behind you, but its rhythm continues to echo in your heart. And with that, the journey continues. The adventure remains. And so do you, always moving forward, always seeking, always exploring, into the vast, infinite unknown.